Hey everyone, I finally decided to jump into Le Mans Ultimate, and I'm really glad I did. In this video, I'll be sharing the highlights from my first 2 fixed online beginner races. It was definitely a bit of a rough start. I had to spend some time tweaking my settings and getting a feel for the car, especially in the rain. But by the end of it, I think I made some good progress. Let's check out how it all went down. It was also my first time racing in the rain, and I ended up starting from the pits, so I started in last place. Early in the first lap, one of the other drivers who also started from the pits misses the turn and leaves the race. I have the game set to 4K Ultra settings in this race, but I do end up turning the graphics settings down, as this was just a little too much for my RX 6800. The game has looked great though. I've had a few odd stutters, but it's been running pretty well, other than those few incidents. By the end of the first lap, I'm closing the gap. I get a much better run out of launch mode, which puts me in position to go for the overtake in turn 1. The Mustang ahead goes for the inside, so I try to follow it. I end up going a little wide, bumping the Ferrari. The Ferrari then loses control or something and hits my rear end, which causes my car to turn into a Mustang. I end up backing off a bit after that. Let's take a look at the replay. I did go a little wide, and the Ferrari driver also turned in pretty sharply, so it's kind of a racing incident in my opinion. Later in the same lap, I managed to overtake the Mustang and Ferrari. I'm finally starting to figure out the car, but my settings in this race were still giving me problems. In lap 4, I start catching a group of cars. For some reason, a McLaren ends up going into the wall, giving me a chance to overtake for 13th position. The BMW ahead makes a small mistake. I try to capitalize on it and take the inside, but the BMW driver cuts to the inside at the last moment, and I have to brake a little earlier. In the next corner, the BMW and McLaren seem to bump, and it almost looks like they get stuck together. The McLaren ends up getting punted off. The driver ahead runs wide into the gravel, giving me the chance to overtake. I end up braking too late in the next corner and lose the position. I try to set up my line for a good exit so I can make the overtake on the straight. looks like I'll finish in 11th place. This race was a real struggle, and it made me realize I needed to change my FFB settings in the game and in my Fanatec software. I actually really like having the achievements and results screen. I do feel like the expectations were very high for some reason. It was my first race ever, and I did a few laps in practice and spent an hour or so setting things up before the race. I don't see why I should be qualifying in third or finishing third in my first race. My second race was a few days after the first one. I spent a few hours dialing in the settings and also switched to the McLaren 720. The track is also new to me, Algarve Circuit, otherwise known as Portimao. I managed to qualify in 8th position. I have to say, I'm still feeling very unsure if I'm in the correct position at the start. It seems a little more sensitive than ACC.
Green flag, green flag.
There's an incident in turn 1 where the Mustang just barely touches the back of the McLaren, causing both to spin. After some door banging, I end up in 6th position. I really don't know the track, so I'm not pushing too hard. I'm really just trying to learn some racing lines and stay out of trouble. This is a corner I struggle with. You come over this crest, and the car goes a little light and feels like it loses some grip. You really have to know your line and how the car will react to be fast in that corner. I also struggle in this corner. It seems like everyone else can carry so much more speed, but the car just isn't turning until I'm off flat.
That time was a 1:58.19.
One lap down, the Mustang behind gets a run on me through T-Roll. He brakes a little too late and goes wide. I try to cut back to the inside, but the Mustang loses the rear and we collide. Somehow it straightens him out and he keeps the position. see how much time I lose here. I even end up with a track limit. Laps later, a Porsche ahead goes a little wide, putting me back in back. In the next lap, I'm finally close enough to start making some moves. Porsche loses the rear on exit, and I make a move around the outside. Surprisingly, the Porsche backs out. I think he could have held the inside. This puts me in 6th position. The BMW in 4th seems to really lose speed on straight, and I get passed for 5th position.
That time was a 1:48.92.
I end up leaving some space on the inside, and the BMW takes back 5th place. It costs him his corner exit in line, though, and I end up taking the inside and getting the position back. It's a really good battle. Keep in mind, this is the lowest skill beginner day. It's great to see. Two laps later, I'm finally starting to improve my lap times a little. I think I should be in the mid 1:46 to 1:47 lap times. In turn 2, the Mustang loses the rear again. This time, I'm able to drive around the outside for 4th position. It's the final few corners. I have to say, Le Mans Ultimate felt really good after I got on the 7th lap. The racing has actually been pretty good so far as well. finish in 4th place. I have to say, I really like this track. It's a nice change, and LMU really does a quality job. While I still don't like all the early access paid DLC, I only have the base game. I also don't like that I'll be limited in the racing I can do without a subscription plan. The game itself is actually in a pretty good state, I would say. The online lobbies seem very populated as well. I would say this is probably the easiest sim racing title to hop into and get a multiplayer racing. I also noticed that most times of day are actually populated. It's not just a Europe-only title like ACC, where outside of Europe's peak time, there's not much going on. I noticed way more drivers from North and South America in the lobbies. I managed to do a 1 minute and 48.1 second lap time. Not bad considering it was my first time on this track and my second race in Le Mans Ultimate. Still quite far from being fast. I gained 4 positions. I still think the expected positions seem a bit steep. It's actually kind of discouraging that new drivers are expected to be on the podium. I gained plus 19% SR. Honestly, it's looking like you would really have to grind this game to end up with decent ratings. I don't know that I really like that part. To get a plus 3.7% gain in 2 races to my driver rank is just kind of low for a 4th place finish. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of Le Mans Ultimate in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.